a warm welcome to Thomas Juli. So he's a human business architect, co-creator and coach for Agile projects and business transformations with more than 25 years experience in various industries and companies. He is the founder and business leader and the trust of Motivate to Be, a collective for leaders, teams and entire organizations with a common goal of making business and their companies more human and sustainable. And what I learned this morning, he's a tango dancer. So warm welcome to Thomas.
About 2 years ago, pretty much to the date, Corona hit. That was definitely a change. And there was another change, a positive change, in the sense that I was about to sign a contract with a publisher for my latest book, Human Business. And then one morning, I received a phone call. And he said, well, Dr. Juli, I was referred to you by a colleague. And she said that you were an Agile expert. I said, yes, that's what people say. Well, there is a company that is very interested in your services as an executive. I said, okay, Agile, that's cool. So what company is it? Allianz. And I thought, my reaction was like this. Well, there is something in common. Allianz and Agile, you know what the common denominator is. Both start with an A. So I just, couldn't really fit together. But anyway, I thought, I was curious. So I had a number of conversations, and later on, about 3 months later, I signed a contract and I joined Allianz. After 13, 14 years of running my own business, that was definitely a change. And ever since, it was a wonderful journey. And let's talk about this journey. And the challenge was that they asked me to help Allianz in its Agile transformation, in its Agile journey. And to me, it was more like teaching an elephant to dance. And I thought, how could this actually be possible? Because Allianz is a huge corporation, more than 110,000 people working worldwide. And how can this company be Agile? I thought this is kind of like an oxymoron. And because when we're talking about Agile transformation, it's not just change. An Agile transformation is a metamorphosis. And we're talking about a metamorphosis, where you have a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, and especially it's in the middle section, the cocoon, where this transformation takes place. Everything disintegrates. It's mush. It's not just like mechanical, you go from one step to the next, and then to the next, and the next, and the next morning you're an Agile company. It doesn't work this way. We're talking about huge cultural differences. So the question was how can I turn this caterpillar or this elephant into a butterfly? And it wasn't just me, because actually, as a matter of fact, they had already made some baby steps. And let's look at the outset. Fact is, we're living in a changing world. When you look at the customer culture, it's changing rapidly. In the past, it was the company that dictated what the customer could buy. Now the customer knows pretty much everything. Then new technologies, they change our business models. And every day we have new technologies, so we have to understand what technologies are emerging. Then another thing is the sector boundaries disappear. Okay, right now Allianz is in the insurance business. Who knows what's going to be in, say, 5 or 10 years? There's a good chance this can change. So if you look at these changes, the question, what kind of innovation do we need? And it's not just the technology, it's not just the products and the processes that we need to innovate. We also talk about people innovation. It's the Mensch, the human factor, that can make all the difference. So the innovation takes place at the intersection of technology, of business, and the human factor. So in the year 2016, Allianz realized we have to do something about our application developments, like the various applications the customers have. And they founded the Digital Factory. And they wanted to experiment with various agile methodologies new way of working, and not just methodology, it's a mindset, it's a culture, it's a philosophy, it's so much more. And they also want to look at, of course, profitability, because after all, I mean, can a company afford that it takes 12 months for an application to get onto the market? No. We have to react much, much faster. So within the last couple of years, the digital factory on the local and the global level was very successful. These are just some numbers. There were more than 40 digital solutions live, and the number, of course, is growing. We have created about 560 new jobs and 20,000 written user stories. That number is about a year old, and the number is growing, as you can imagine. And when you look at the history of the digital factory and where we are right now, as I've mentioned, in 2016, we founded the digital factory. A year later, we had the first products go live. 2018, those are the numbers I just shared, about 40 products went live. And in 2019, we founded Agile at Scale. And this is where I'm working right now. So we have about 3,000 people working in the Agile at Scale program initiative. Globally, we have about 12,000, 14,000 people working worldwide in an Agile setting, and the number is growing. So it's about 10, 15% of the global workforce. So there were a number of changes. In the traditional business, we have a bureaucracy top-down with the various line organizations. We have the silos, etc. The idea for Agile at Scale is like we want to do something completely different. We want to get rid of all these hierarchies. We don't want to build an organization. We want to build an organism. So no more hierarchies. We want to work in tribes, and we want to work in cross-functional teams. So we looked at the Spotify model. We looked at that did not mean that we copied it, but it gave us a form of an orientation. So what we do have cross-functional teams. They're relatively small, 8 to 12 people. Some are a little bigger, but still. Cross-functional means you have developers, you have business analysts, you have architects, you have content experts. It's really a mix, and no more silos. Then we form these teams into tribes. So a tribe has about up to 100 people with various teams. And then with various tribes, we have so-called areas. So you can say former business units, we have now areas. And the questions like still, I mean, this is just from the organizational point of view, the questions like, what is it what we really like to achieve? And I can share all the information about how we organize work, what methodologies we use, but what is it that drives us? What's our motivation? And the vision of Agile at Scale is as follows. The Agile Transformation is helping us become an adaptable, learning company that stands for customer employee delight, as well as sustainable value creation. We'll talk about value creation in a second. The question is digital the driver for Agile at Scale? Well, it certainly is, to a certain extent. But we also ask the question, what about us, human beings? Where do we fit in? So it's not just technology, it's not just Agile. We also ask the question, what about the human being? Especially when I came to Allianz as a human business architect, I was very interested in actually explaining why it is so crucial to talk about us and not so much about technology. So let's do an experiment. And this is not just like for Allianz. This is an experiment all of us can do. Let's be audacious for a second. And let's ask a very simple question. And the question is the WTF question. And you're right, WTF stands for what's the future? I don't know, some of you may have thought of something different, but no. What's the future? And the questions like you can ask, what will the future look like? What technology can we expect? Then you can react to changes. You're passive. Or you ask two different questions. And they can make all the difference because they turn you into change agents, the driver of change. How do we want to live? How do we want to work? Maybe this is what the future looks like. Who knows? The futurologist John Naisbitt, he explained the most exciting breakthroughs of the 21st century will occur not because of technology, but because of an expanding concept of what it means to be human. Well, that's interesting. You can say it's easy, it's common sense, right? And when we talk about HR, well, where's the human? Well, the human resource, so kind of like an oxymoron. So what does it mean to be human? And how does it fit into Agile Scale at Allianz? It's not that I can say, well, we're human business yet, but we're working on it. So how are we guiding this journey? And I want to share a few concepts, which, however, are not just Allianz specific. You can actually also apply them to your company. You just have to modify them a little bit. So the question is like, as, for example, we come up with new initiatives, new epics, okay? How do we prioritize them? How do we know that they actually create value? And the way we steer it is as follows. We focus on the value creation, A, for customers, B, for employees, and in third place comes the business. It's from why, how, and what. Let's have a look at this. Let's first talk about the customers. The focus is on the human, on the Mensch. It's not just, let's say, okay, well, they just bring in the money. No, we focus on the needs of our customers. By the way, if you want to focus on the needs of the customer, you first have to know who your customers are. And it's sometimes it's interesting when you are in a business setting and say, well, let's talk about customer delight, and everyone agrees. And then let's say, okay, who are our customers? Especially when you work in the back end technology. Who is the customer? And it's when you ask 3 questions, you have 5 different answers, you know you're in trouble. So you first want to find out who is the customer. Anyway, we focus on the Mensch. And we do not want to satisfy our customer, because that's not sufficient anymore. We want to delight our customer. So that means we have to know what are the needs of our customers. And in a sense, like we say, when we have a product or new, say, initiative, new idea, we want to find out how does it contribute to the customer delight with respect to security? Does it give the customer a sense of security? And what kind of service offerings does the customer expect? What do they need? And also, is it like, do we meet their expectations with respect to payouts? I mean, if there's a case, you have insurance, you expect that you actually get the insurance money. Okay? Then we ask a question, what about the user experience? Do we actually improve the user experience for the customer with respect to, is it understandable? Is it fast? Is it tailored to the very specific needs of the customer? And last but not least, customer delight also means that a customer can trust in our products and the company with respect to data, protection, integrity, ethics, and quality. So customer delight is nothing esoteric. Actually can translate it to the business language. So whenever we have a new idea, we ask, okay, on the scale from 1 to 5, how does it contribute to customer delight? The second dimension is employees. Employees are not, well, we refer them to as peers, colleagues. It's not just employees, it's much, much more. And we are interested in collaboration, not any collaboration. We're interested in co-creation. Gerhard Hüther, he said, when people connect, when they unfold their potentials together, then something emerges that is more than cooperation. This is co-creation. This is what we are after. Not just collaboration, co-creation. And we want to build a happy workplace. It was interesting. When I worked for Magna, an automobile supplier, a couple of years ago, I talked about collaboration, co-creation, and how can we build an environment which is like nurturing peak performance, etc. And they just looked at me and said, why don't you just call it a happy workplace? When you talk to, say, top management, you talk about happy workplace, they say, like, no, we can't say this. When you talk to the colleagues and you say, let's build a happy workplace, more or less everyone can resonate with it. It's very subjective, but they get an idea. A happy workplace does not mean that it's like, we're not talking about performance. Of course, performance is important. You want to shape something, you want to perform, and you have the questions like, what kind of environment do you need so that the team can perform? And fact is, in a happy workplace, the likelihood that it can perform are much, much greater. And they want to do something great. They want to be part of something bigger, something grand, something they can identify with. And by the way, they want to do it with joy. Talking about joy, there is a company in the US called Menlo Innovation. It's a very pretty small company, about 60, 80 people. And their business driver is joy. If you're interested in that company, I encourage you to read the book by Richard Sheridan, Joy, Inc. And he explains how they actually transform the whole company, all built around joy. So joy as a business driver can carry you a long way. And, oh yeah, continuous self-improvement. Just because we performed yesterday does not mean that we will do so tomorrow. So we always strive for new ideas. How can we become better, better, and better? And we allow the teams to build networks. So yes, we still have this line organization. Actually, we just got rid of it. We have chapters. But still, they allow to build networks. So looking at the employees, when we have a new idea, new product idea, we ask, how does that new idea contribute to the workflows of the team with respect to cross-functional team? Does it make work easier? Does it nurture collaboration? Then, can we improve skills development with respect to content, technical, perspectives, so that the employees have perspectives of we can develop skills, they will be relevant in a couple of years. Entrepreneurship, how fresh is it? How, challenging is it? Then my workplace. Originally we said happy workplace, but we said, okay, for some people, some traditionalists, this is a little bit too much, so we say it's what my workplace. And we ask, can we secure stable teams? And can we balance the workload? And what about the workplace and the work environment? Is it ergonomically okay? So this is value creation for the employees. And then let's talk about business. Business value. Yes, we have to secure operational stability and continuous improvement, no doubt. This is like the backbone of Allianz, and I think pretty much every company there is. And of course, we also look at, if this works, profitability, cost, profitability, revenue, you name it. And last but not least, innovation and adaptability. So we have again, for business value, the way we define it, operational stability and continuous improvement. We have profitability and we have innovation. So business value is not just about profitability. It's more complex. So how were we steering? We focus on the value creation that addresses all of these three elements, these three dimensions. First, the customer, second, the employee, and third, the business, in that order. And we're interested in a holistic and sustainable value creation. It's not just about business. If it doesn't contribute anything to the employees or the customers, we may question an initiative. Basically, you can say, for Agile at scale, what we are getting rid of is seeing business as a machine. And we're more interested in building Allianz, which resembles like an organism. And you can say business is human or human business. That's like the long term. When you ask some other Allianz executives anything about human business, they will not say, well, what are we talking about? We're talking about Agile. But you dig a little deeper, there are lots of aspects of human business. And the human business is like you focus on the human being. It's creating value for and by people. It's not just for the shareholders. It's for the people, like in customers, like employees, and the business. We want to build a happy workplace driven by joy. We continuously strive for improvement to get better, better, and better. And at the end of the day, of course, we generate and deliver value. This is very, very important. So the question, going back to the metamorphosis, the question is like, can we become a butterfly? Well, it's like kind of like one step at a time. We're not there yet. It's tiny. Tiny little steps. But there's a story about an elephant. And a little kid goes to a circus, and he sees this huge elephant, make all these tricks and stuff. And then at the break, goes to this elephant and sees like there's a chain. He's chained. It's like, why doesn't the elephant just move? Because he's so powerful, so strong. And the adult explains, well, the baby elephant tried to escape and was chained. And we tried to leave and stuff and couldn't really work out. Second day, third day, fourth day, basically gave up. And then the elephant unlearned how strong it really is. And I think Allianz, it's maybe like this elephant. Maybe it has unlearned how powerful it is. Or just for us, when we're building, say, an agile, a human business, are we the elephant who is still, chained? Well, because we've unlearned how strong we are? Because building a human business is not something completely new. We're not human resources. We're human beings. So the question is, how and why don't we just integrate these insights into our daily business? Agile scale at Allianz, this is what we're driving for. And again, it's one step at a time. It's listening to the elephant, finding out where the potentials are, unleashing and dancing with the elephant. So the question, like, is it possible that we can dance with an elephant, that the elephant can dance? I believe yes. But it starts with us as change agents. And you can start in a team. You can start with the whole corporation, but always starts with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. So very interesting. Are there some questions here in the audience? I think you will be happy to answer. Natalie?
It's right there.
Yeah, it is for the online audience. Thank you. To take the mic, please.
So, hello. My question is about the agile transformation of organizations. So that's a big change. And it's not just about the methodology, and it's not just about organizing people in tribes and squads and whatever. What would you advise organizations who want to do this, where to start, and especially large organizations?
Okay, very good question. You can actually, let's start with the value steering I just talked about. Ask, what's your understanding of value creation for the customer? What is your understanding of value creation for the employees, for your people? What does business value mean to you? How do you measure it? Why do you measure it? What is the outcome? And then you ask, is there anything you'd like to improve? And in most cases, there are always areas that can improve. But first, you don't say you screwed up, you don't perform. You ask, okay, what's your understanding of value creation for the customer, for the employee, and for the business? And you appreciate where they are. And say, what is that you really want to improve on, work on? What is most important to you? Is it the customer? Is it the employee? Or is it business? Now, if they ask business is the most important thing, first of all, it's legitimate. But then they should be open and transparent and say, okay, why is it number one? Why is it number two? Why is it number three? But the thing is also then that you can maybe remind them, by the way, who's actually creating, who's actually generating the value? Is it the business by itself? Is it the customer? Or are we talking about employees, the peers? What do you want to invest in? And you just go from there. You can also ask, why are you in business? That's like a later question. But you first start with what's called Appreciative Inquiry. Where are you right now? How do you, again, what is important to you for the customer? By the way, who are the customers? Are we just focused on the present customers, or are you focusing on the future customers you want to attract? What is it? And the employees, how important are they? And then the business. What does business value to mean? Is it just profitability? What about innovation? What about adaptability? And you just ask these three questions, or three set of questions. And then you ask, okay, what is it you want to improve? And you just go from there. Because Agile is not, I mean, people say it's a methodology. No, Agile is much more. Because like the focus is, you know, for Agile, well, the traditional company focuses on the business. An Agile company focuses on the customer. A human business focuses on people. So Agile, for me, is a door opener. But is there an alternative to Agile these days in the VUCA world? I don't see any alternative.
We had one here, and I will come back. Yes, please.
Well, you mentioned a part of many organizations looking into the transfer of competences. And you also mentioned that you have created, I think it was 580 new jobs. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that you've also have old competences that you're trying to unlearn, or where you had to change other roles, or is it in addition?
Well, yes. I mean, you know, old jobs, some of them, they just disappear. And we create new jobs. I mean, so far, you know, I mean, do they have like a turnaround, you know, at Allianz? Yes, of course, it's a turnaround, but it's relatively low. Okay. And nobody is fired at Allianz, not that I know, unless, you know, there are totally, I know, some illegal actions. But no, I mean, we're looking at the overall skills development. And so far, it's like, well, you always have a few people who are not very happy with change, no matter what. You know, 2 or 3%. Do we focus on the 2 or 3%, or do you want to focus on the 95%? When you look at the employee survey, you know, engagement survey every year, there is a, you know, real correlation, you know, how happy the people are in an Agile setting compared to a traditional setting. Why? Because we help them unfold their potential. And they can identify with the customer and with the purpose. So it's not just about skills, it's also like, where do they come from? What is it that motivates them? And how can we find overlap?
My question, or the reason behind my question, is many organizations is facing the same transition, that they're moving from an old set of behaviors into a new. And I was curious to learn how you have enabled that.
Well, that's a long story. We'll have later a panel where we'll talk about this. But there was probably, we need some more time about this. But right now, all I can say is, like, if I look at a corporation such as Allianz, where it has come from and what has already achieved over the last couple of years, it's quite an accomplishment, especially compared to some other large insurance companies worldwide. And there's a commitment from executive management regarding Agile, or we want to build a learning organization. There is no alternative. The purpose of Allianz is we secure your future. And it's not just a slogan. They want to live by it. Are they there? You know, are they living it every day? It's a claim. We're working on it. We're in the middle of a transformation, like with the metamorphosis. You know, there are some areas which are totally being disintegrated, and we'll build something even bigger.
Okay, thank you. We have another question here on this side.
Hi, Thomas. My question is about the scope of your Agile transformation. So Allianz has more than 110,000 people. Are they all moving to an Agile way of working? Is that the end vision? And yeah, where are you now and how do you approach that?
Well, with respect to, say, software development, application development, absolutely yes. As a matter of fact, you know, there are people say by the end of next year, 2023, we want to be Agile, period. Whether or not we can be there, we'll see. And then there are other areas where, say, legal. You know, how can legal become Agile? There is no alternative. Will look different. Will they apply, you know, will they follow a Scrum framework or something? That's not the point. The question is, like, again, also like with respect to value steering, how do they contribute to the value for customers, employees, and the business? So Agile is much, much bigger than a methodology. So, and then there will be some organizational units that are really stable, where there's no change, Will they change into an agile company or corporation? Maybe not so. But if the people, if they're interested in it, I don't think you can stop it. So do I see Allianz as an agile company within a couple of years? Yes. And that means the complete corporation.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Thomas, for this sharing. Thank you.